In this episode, you'll learn from a professional running physio/physical therapist what exactly a single leg deadlift for runners is, why you should do it, how to make it harder/progress it, how to avoid doing it wrong, a few other secret hacks, tips, and tricks, and more. Let's get into it.
All right, the second one, single leg deadlift. So what is it exactly?
So if you can picture a traditional deadlift where you get that hip hinge and slight bend through the knee as you go into the depth of the movement, this is performing the exercise on one leg. For this reason, it helps to improve our single leg and our hip stability using muscle groups that wouldn't be worked in a traditional deadlift. It also helps with some stability too. There's a lot of movement happening around the knee and the hip, and if you can control those muscle groups, it means you can better control yourself when you're actually running.
Why should you do this? What's the core benefits?
I would say to do it as part a stability exercise. So a lot of runners lack a bit of strength in their glutes, and there's more to the glutes than just the max, medius, and minimus. You've got your deep hip external rotators too. So they're the little ones that help keep the ball in the ball and socket, which is your hip joint. You can also do it for posterior chain strength. So a lot of hamstring work in this one, and hamstrings are important for the push off at the end of your stance phase in running.
Can you explain just a bit of definition? What is the posterior chain?
So posterior chain is all the muscles that run along the back of the body. So this targets the core, but particularly the erector spinae muscles, your glute muscles, so glute max, hamstrings are posterior chain, and also your calves are posterior chain too. So anything that runs along your back.
Achilles?
Achilles posterior chain. Yep.
Plantar?
Yep. Oh no, that's probably no. I wouldn't classify plantar fasciitis as a posterior chain.
Okay.
Maybe. I mean, it comes from I would say the Achilles tendon and the plantar fascia are one unit almost, but
yeah,
I'm not sure if I'd classify plantar fasciitis as a posterior chain. Anyway.
Okay, no, I'm very happy that
I could be wrong.
I can ask all these questions because there's so many questions to be asking. There'll be a lot more in depth of basically everything you need to know about strength training for running in the episode either before or after this. So make sure you listen to this. But let's get back to how to actually do this.
Okay, so with a single leg deadlift, you want to take one leg back. From this position, you start to hinge through the hips. And as you hinge through the hips, the body comes forward and you bend just slightly at the knee. You want to come so far forward that your face is almost horizontal to the ground. You also want to ensure there's no rotation through the pelvis. So a cue I give patients in the clinic is you can picture the two bony parts in front of your pelvis. Imagine there's flashlights on them and they're pointing directly down to the ground. You then hinge back up into the standing position to finish the first rep.
Sounds easy.
Yep. And it's harder than it looks.
Yeah, you make it sound so easy. All right. Inverse. How do people do this wrong? Because, fun story, true story from me. I do the normal 2-leg deadlift. I know it's not really the 2-leg, but the normal deadlift. Yeah. And I've pulled my lower back muscle. Yeah. Probably about 4 or 5 times in the last few years. Yeah. Due to improper form. Thinking I could lift heavy and not being ready. And
I think that's the biggest issue. So sometimes it's not form, but it's just going too much too soon with your lifting. So you could be lifting with a bad posture, but if you've been lifting with a bad posture for a while, then it's going to be a non-issue. But if you're lifting with, one posture and then all of a sudden you're lifting that same weight with a different posture, then that's when an injury is going to occur. Our body adapts.
Yeah. Well, so I guess a bit more addition to that story. I ended up going to single leg deadlifts because I was like, single leg is better for runners anyway. Yeah. And I was like, I won't get the chance of getting injured because it's less weight and less load on my my spine and lower back and all that. I fell in love with them. I haven't gotten injured because of it. But I think I have pretty good form. But I've actually seen so many different variations of the single leg deadlift with weight. So I've gone up to weight because I need the resistance. Yeah. And the way we told you is to do them without body weight. This is a whole body weight workout, how to. So how can people do it wrong when they start adding resistance to it? And I know resistance isn't just weight, but let's say they add weight to it. How can they do it wrong?
So a common one is they start flexing through their lumbar spine. So you want your lumbar spine, your back to be nice and straight. The movement comes from the hips. I often find that they perform the movement well until they get close to the ground and they try and reach that one little bit further, and then that's where they get their flexion. Flexion isn't a bad thing, but once again, we want to be doing this in a neutral posture, so we're loading up the structures in the same way each time we do the exercise. Additionally, we do see a lot of rotation through the hips. So as the hips go down, you go down towards facing the ground. The contralateral, so the hip on the other side of the leg that's working, will start to rotate upwards, and that is not going to load, in the plane we'd like it to. They're the two main things I see wrong with this exercise.
If you want to learn more about this topic, we went into further detail. You should go and check that out right here.